Good morning. Welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11, or on Twitter you can find me at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at some pitching for today, Thursday, May 4th. Once again, I'm going to focus mainly on DraftKings since that is where I play a majority of my action. We have a 9-game day slate, just 10 games overall today. Kind of annoying to see the Toronto game on its own this evening. But we do have 9 games. Doesn't look to be too bad from a weather standpoint. Just a couple of very low risk spots, so we should be pretty clear. Some warm weathers in the Midwest, St. Louis and Kansas City, warming up with a little wind blowing out. So a couple of spots to look for hitters, but this is all about pitching. So let's kind of dive in. Verlander coming off of the IL to make his first Mets start. We saw Scherzer struggle with Detroit yesterday, which is shocking. Uh, Kind of have to keep that out of my head and think, Verlander is still Verlander until we see different. The one worry here is he made just one rehab start, going 4 2/3 innings, but throwing 69 pitches. I don't expect him to be unleashed then. General rule of thumb is 15 to 20 pitch increase start over start. So I actually wouldn't be shocked to see him finish in the 80 to 85 range. I don't really know that they're going to push him to 90 right away. I could be wrong. He is a veteran, but coming off of a shoulder issue, I just don't think that they're going to push him to 90 plus. So I would think 80 to 85. It is a return to Detroit for him, so there's some sentimental value in making his first Met start. I think right now I have to be interested, but I have to scale back expectations. So 10.8K is a little rough uh, with a pitch count, but I still think he's worth uh, a handful of shares at minimum. Pablo Lopez has not looked good the last couple starts. And they were against a couple of pretty weak teams too, so it's a bit worrisome. His best start of the year for the Twins did come against this White Sox squad. I am pretty interested. Looks like the wind is blowing in Chicago. Not overly strong, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. But I want to see him kind of bounce back, so I think I'm going to be on him, but it's not going to be as strong as I would have been if it wasn't for these last two starts. Zach Eflin, very intriguing. He's thrown the ball pretty well for Tampa Bay. Uh, isn't really pitching deep. Been topped out at 82 pitches. Obviously, spent some time on the IL. Um, but I think he's probably limited to 80 to 85 pitches. It does really look like Tampa Bay is going to kind of keep him fresh or just baby him. I'm not sure their exact plan. I know Pitt's offense has been surprising, but I do expect him to regress quite a bit going forward. I think that team still finishes under 500. They just don't seem like they're that good overall. So as time goes on, I expect pitchers to be beneficial going against them. So I think F1 probably fits into that role. One big thing is I don't know that we're going to use a whole lot of F1, because we have George Kirby for cheaper. Uh, Kirby has been pretty strong, coming off a 7K game, taking on Oakland. We know that the Seattle pitchers have done pretty well in this series against Oakland. Gilbert was solid last night. Bryce Miller was electric in his debut. I'm all about Kirby. He's a massive favorite. I think it was minus 220 the last I looked. So Kirby's going to end up being my number one overall play on this slate. I am going to look to fade Jesus Luzardo. There's volatility in that fade because of his upside, but he hasn't been as sharp over the last few starts as he was to start begin the year. And there's always this shot that he only goes 4 1/3 because he does rack up pitch count quickly. Going for strikeouts, adding some walks, home runs have popped up here, and I'm just not taking pitching against Atlanta. If that beats me, it beats me. Whatever, I'll move on to the next slate. But Grayson Rodriguez, good matchup with Kansas City, but it is one of the best hitting environments of the day. I'm going to be on Grayson Rodriguez, but I'm going to be a little worried about the potential blow up. Now, when I speak about blow up, I guess for GPP wise, I don't care. I just care about this number here. The pure upside. He's been strong the last two starts. Now they were against Detroit, but Kansas City hasn't been much better than Detroit this year. Little more dangerous offensively, but they still aren't that great. They're allowing him to throw 90 to 100 pitches. At 4 straight starts now that he's gone into that range. He's more of a ground ball guy with some K upside. I like the upside at the 8,300 price point. If we get a floor game, then we get a floor game, but I'm always building towards upside for GPP purposes. Um, Zero interest in Vince Velasquez against Tampa Bay. I know he's been great in his last 2 and 3 of his last 4 starts. He was actually even great in Colorado, considering, but at some point that like the clock has to strike midnight. I would assume. His 2 starts at the beginning of the year were really bad. Uh, I don't see it continuing, similar to the Pittsburgh offense. So he's not somebody that I'm planning to use uh, against Tampa Bay. Similar to Luzardo against Atlanta, I have no reason to pick on the Tampa Bay offense with a mediocre pitcher overall. Looking in this range here, I'm not really sure what I want to do yet. To be honest, Giolito's been somebody I've been fading most of the time. He's had some strong starts. He was solid against Minnesota already. Uh, the Minnesota roster has not hit him overly well, other than that they do have some power against him. I think at 7,400 we just have to consider him, and it pains me to say that because I am not a Giolito fan in any way, but I think he is somebody at this price point. He's 200 more than what Wade Miley is pitching in Coors. I'd much rather prefer Giolito. Definitely take Giolito over Flaherty. Um, Probably over Tyon. I'm not really sure. Like seeing that Tyon didn't make a rehab start. I'm not really excited to use him. I wish he had made a rehab start because I'd feel a lot better going against Washington. He's been solid, solid enough, giving up some runs, but the strikeouts have been there his 2 starts before going on the IL. But I just don't know if there's enough inning upside because of the non rehab start. Um, Eduardo Rodriguez has been absolutely spectacular in his last 4 starts. Uh, and I guess all 4 of those came against very strong teams. Cleveland's not a strong hitting overall, but to pick up 10 Ks against that Cleveland team that doesn't strike out all that much, that's a pretty big step. So uh, I'm gonna have to consider Eduardo Rodriguez, but there are guys on the Mets that really love hitting left-handed pitching, so I'm gonna temper some expectations there and use him a little bit. But uh, similar with Flaherty, I'm gonna fade Flaherty. Like, just his strikeout numbers are back up. He still allows a lot of base runners and runs, making mistakes. I'm just not gonna use a guy that's not sharp against a team like the Angels. The top half of that lineup, extremely dangerous. With Flaherty's injury issues, it is nice to see that he's been over 100 pitches in each of the last 2 starts. But then that's worrisome in thinking that fatigue or control command kind of disappears because he really hasn't thrown much the last couple of years. So he's somebody that I'm just not going to use. Like similar to like Velasquez and Luzardo, in that if they beat me on this slate, I'll just move on to the next slate and accept the variance that happens. But I would feel pretty good about fading a guy like Flaherty, Tyon, Velasquez, those guys, and the guys down here at the bottom definitely going to be on my fade list. I have zero desire to use any of these guys. Griffin Canning I've used recently, but not today, even though St. Louis is struggling. Just not going to make it happen today. So there we have it. There's my look at today's 9-game slate. If you like what I'm bringing to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notifications on. That way you get alerts every time we drop a video here on the channel. And if you want to join us at DFS Army, I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, R-A-Z, for 10% off your monthly membership with us. And as usual, best of luck, everybody.